Oh, the mistake, and McBreen's clean through on goal here to win it. What a miss from Daniel McBreen.
Fucking dog shit.
It was a big week around the world when we woke up on Thursday morning. Newsrooms all over the world with a void to fill. The US election had been completed. What the fuck are we going to talk about for the next 2 years? Well, the stories started to flow through. 22 tons of cheddar cheese were stolen in London. 43 monkeys escaped from a medical laboratory and are on the run in South Carolina. Beefy Botham fell into a croc-infested river in the Northern Territory only to be saved by Big Merv. And, can you believe it, Peanut the Squirrel, with over 500,000 Instagram followers, was put down in New York City. Thank fuck the A-Leagues kicked into action on Friday night. We had Nick Milanovic with the hat trick. We had Socceroos on the score sheet. Hideki Ishige's free kick. Ariath Piol's inverted bicycle kick. But nothing prepared us for the shit show we witnessed at Cooper's Stadium on Saturday night. And yet we had been warned. Friday night, the fuckduggery had already been taken to a whole new level. 2 stonewall penalties met with the buzzwords of this 2024-25 season. Play on, fucktards! On this occasion, VAR came to the rescue and overturned both. Hold my fucking beer, said Alex King 24 hours later, in the 58th minute, when Abel Wallity was scythed into from behind on the goal line by Ryan Kitto, met once again by the cry of the referee, in this case Daniel Eldar, play on, shitwaffles! And this time, while roars of laughter around Cooper's Stadium, silence from the VAR corner. Well, to quote Jason Pine, who was commentating the Wellington Phoenix women yesterday when Annalie Longo's dog ran onto the pitch and stopped play for a number of minutes, Piney, our great Kiwi colleague, said, "This is indeed the best league in the world." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it really fucking is. This is A-League Off Air. Robbie Thompson here with Daniel McBreen. Macca, it was another fucking mad weekend. We love it.
Yeah. We've gone full circle, haven't we? The peak A-League is flying back again. We love it. Well, plenty to talk about. Some fucking great goals, some shithouse decisions, some red cards, and what's not to love about this game? Some shit commentary as well. Of course,
always.
I'm going to jump in early and say that I would normally re-commentate something that I wouldn't normally call the Wellington Phoenix the Weenix, but that's how it came out on the weekend as I put the two words together and heralded the Weenix as they ripped the Mariners apart. But yeah, I don't think I'd call them the Weenix anymore. It doesn't sound very flattering for them.
No.
But
I have to make a public apology to Lucas Ronaldo for I was about to call him Ronaldo, and I thought it's not Ronaldo. And then I thought, it must be Rinaldi. And I know Lucas and I know his dad for fucking hundreds of years. and then I said, sorry, it's not Ronaldo, it's Rinaldi. And then Lucas starts talking very politely, didn't say anything, like fucking get the name right. And then, of course, it's Ronaldo. So it was in between the two. Apologies, Lucas. And you're doing a great job when Carl's not bagging you out for your questions on the sideline, which is always great as well. All right, without any further ado, let's get into the action. And to help us do that, we are joined by the man that was once signed by Girondins de Bordeaux for €5 million back in 2010. Bordeaux
no
are now
they're
bankrupt. And playing in the 4th division with Andy Carroll as their striker. They pay him in red wine, by all accounts, and he's banging in the goals as well. More seriously, Fahid Ben Khalfallah, welcome back to the show. We said we'd get you on after last year's just magnificent intervention when you came on the pod, because we promised you 5 minutes to talk about the national second tier. Now, a lot has gone on since that time. We even now maybe have an Oceania Football Federation professional league. I don't know if you've had enough time to get your head around that. I promise we're going to give you just a free swing at the NSD at the end of the show. How are you, Fahid?
I'm good, Robbie. How are you, Macca? Good to see you, man.
Good to see you, mate.
Very good, very good. Now, we did catch up a little bit over the weekend. I went out to Cogra to see Sydney versus San Frecce, where Fahid, you were there as well. We're not going to spend too much time talking about the difficulties that are being experienced by our teams in the Champions League. Again, on and off the pitch, it was a small crowd. Sydney, you'd say unlucky. The refereeing wasn't great, but you know, San Frecce played a second-string team, could have been 2-0 up at half-time. There's something about continental football that's not working for us at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, but to be honest, Sydney FC, if you take both games against San Frecce, they did quite well. Like, away, they should have won, especially the first half. Then it's about mistakes. Obviously the goals I caught there, like I'll get into it. It's just everyone thinks they can play like Guardiola and Klopp today. That's the only way to play football today. But they did quite well. They had chances, and it was quite good even this week. This week against on Thursday. But you're playing against their second team, which is obviously not ideal to lose at home. But the most disappointing thing for me was the crowd. You're playing in a small stadium and it doesn't look good. It looks like it. I was at the hotel. I stayed at the hotel with a team, and I was talking to the assistant coach, and they didn't even understand why they played at the small stadium, and it was like 3,000 people. And it sounds like it looks like we're so arrogant here, thinking, oh, Champions League is not important. Well, it is just insane for me. Like, you know, your club is fighting to win title and this and that, and you're playing whatever, an AFC Cup, and people don't even turn up. And Sydney FC, seriously, off the field, and with Alex and Evan Ufi, they're trying to do the right things. They've signed good players. They have a good team on the paper. They have some really good young players like coming through. So they have a good mix. It's probably one of the best, if not the best club in the country. And you play a Champions League game in front of 3,000 people in a stadium that's with no roof, half of it. It's raining. It doesn't help. It doesn't look good for the football here.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think we've always struggled with in Australia, is that the fans just haven't bought into the Asian competitions. Even if they turn up, and when we were getting, you know, relatively good crowds across the league, you know, if we go back 10, 12 years, whatever, even when you'd go and you'd play in the Champions League, 2,500 people would turn up midweek, and you're like, where they just don't seem to feel. It's like they don't even know it exists, most people. And they rock up for their league games, and then the Asian Champions League or whatever it is, whichever continental one you're in, elite or second. It's just like it's a non-event for the fans. And I don't know how we can change that perception for them to turn up and think, well, we need to get behind our team on this, because I think it's been an ongoing thing over the years.
But it can't be just do they even know it's on? You know, that they don't do enough promotion, yada, 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 because there were 850 Shanghai Shenhua fans on the Central Coast, and they didn't fly in.
No.
They're coming from Sydney. They're Aussie Chinese football fans. So I think that asks two questions. Why can't we get people interested in the Champions League? And why aren't these fans supporting an Aussie team? Because there are fans all over the country that love football. We saw it at the Women's World Cup. Anyway, fuck it. Let's not go there.
There's no communication. To be honest, there's no communication about the game.
Yeah, there's no news around it. This is we prefer to talk about fucking monkeys escaping in South Carolina and cheese being stolen in London than fucking talk. It's true.
Yeah,
that's the point of this. It's fucking ridiculous.
But what's happened with the monkeys? Where are they now? Have they been caught? Are they
found
free?
one of them. They found one of them.
Good. There's 33 still running free. Go, you fucking good things.
Who knows what fucking diseases they're carrying?
Not as many as the locals.
Apparently there was a warning that went out that said lock all your doors and shut all your windows. The monkeys they're coming. Anyway, fuck it. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah.
That's South Carolina. Let's talk about Friday night football. Look, we've got to stop talking about the referees, but this is back-to-back games for Jack Morgan where he forgot the whistle and the yellow cards when he walked out onto the pitch. Who was it? Clayton Taylor that was brought down for the first penalty that by Jong Tae-wook. And I'm jumping ahead, but it was so obvious. And luckily VAR said, come and have a look, mate, because this is penalty every day of the week. And then Nick Milanovic was brought down at the other end 10 minutes later by Mark Natta. And Natta, you could see on the reaction of both defenders in both times saying, fuck, like not even arms up, didn't touch him.
Yeah.
Just fuck.
Resignation.
And both play on, piss wizards. This is the new directive. Whatever, go for it.
Yeah.
So anyway, before all this happened, Nick Milanovic scored a hat-trick, got his first hat-trick in A-League. Zach Sapsford got on the score sheet as well. Macca, you first on this. Western Sydney Wanderers, they played with spirit. They've been second to every ball so far this season, and they've really struggled to get off the ground. A couple of games were really average. Brandon Borrello tried to bring a little bit of energy against Western United, for example, but in the end just overrun. Here, they showed intensity, they showed direction, and in Nick Milanovic, they showed someone that has the talent, and this evening managed to put it together.
Yeah, they did. I think right from the kickoff, the Jets went forward and Nick Milanovic chased back, did a slide tackle and won the ball. And straight away, you sort of saw that the marker was laid down. And I asked Stads before the game, how do you go about winning this game? And he said, to be honest, we match up pretty well. We just have to win our individual battles and be aggressive. And I think that set the marker from Milanovic right at the start. That they dominated the Jets all across the park. Jong Tae-wook, I've been very critical of him in the early matches in the games, that he's been bullied too easy by opposition strikers where, he's not winning headers, he's not using his body to block runs and stuff like that. Well, I think they must have sat down with him and showed him a few clips and said, come on, you need to be aggressive, because every time that ball went near him on Friday night, he stepped in and won the headers. He won the challenge. And they just looked so much more mobile, lively. To be honest, it looked like a team that was really desperate to go, fuck, we haven't won at home for a long time. We need to fucking win. And another team who had a week off and was just sort of trying to get back into their mojo, because it was night and day between the first two teams. I spoke to Rod Stanton after the game and said, first half, and I said, I don't want to use the word disaster. And he went, I don't think it was a disaster. You can look at the score, it was 2-0, but I thought we're all right. And I thought, well, at one stage, the possession was like 75-25 and you couldn't get the fucking ball. And I thought at once, in my head, I thought this could be 5-6-0, the way Western Sydney were just steamrolling them. I think it was a mix of Wanderers sort of stepped up finally to the plate and the Jets were flat as fuck. I think it was a mixture of the both.
Yeah. Fahid, you were there
Yeah.
at Combank watching this one. Obviously, we know that you represent Juan Mata and brought him to the A-League. So we want to talk to you a little bit about the Mata situation. But first of all, what did you make of the match?
Newcastle is a shamble. It's just at one point clubs they need to look at themselves, and they're irrelevant in the league at the moment. And to be honest, they look like an NPL2, not even NPL1. They look like an NPL2 team in Victoria. And it's just really sad because it doesn't help. And I'm so sick, and I'll be honest, of coaches trying to find excuses with the young, we had the ball. It's about winning. It's about also like, you know what? It's competition. It's A-League. You want to win things. You start the season to be successful. It works. It doesn't work, whatever. But using excuses, that they just have young players, and the majority of them are not good enough. But we're trying to push and saying it's a development league. No, it's not. I don't know why people they keep saying this thing and whatever. It's just, and you give excuses to some coaches by saying, yeah, no one is asking you just to play young players. You can go and sign some players, even if you don't have a lot of money. You can try to make an effort. But having those excuses now, like, you know, for coaches, oh, we've got young players. Yeah, we did okay. That team was rubbish. And seriously, I feel for some people working for the club, if you have to find sponsors, new owners or whatever, like, you know, coming and you watch that kind of stuff. And if you're a fan, and seriously, if you support Newcastle and you look at them, you say, why would I waste my time to go to the games? So it doesn't help our league to grow. And they were seriously like, whatever we can say, yes, I could have maybe got a pen or something or whatever. Western Sydney is a team struggling at the moment, and they just were much better, obviously. They looked like a team prepared, yeah, you go, Robbie.
Yeah, I just want to bring Macca in there because what you're saying is pretty intense for the people of Newcastle and their football. Macca's a Newcastle boy. At the start of the season, Macca, there was a feeling with the new owners and stuff. Like, we looked at the team, we looked at the outs, we looked at the ins, and we thought it's not going to be easy for sure. What Fahid is saying there about this Newcastle team over the course of the season. But there was a positive feeling, wasn't there, around the club at the start of the season, thinking, and you know, are people getting a wake-up call? There were nearly 100 people there that had come down to support the Jets.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a bitterly disappointing performance. That we were thinking, you know, perhaps the Eli Adams was going to provide a little bit of a spark. We didn't see him. They made changes at half-time, no impact. You know, I mean, Clayton Taylor perhaps brought something to the table, but you know, is there something in what Fahid's saying?
Yeah, look, you've got to remember where the club was at 12 months ago as well, where really no one knew if the club was going to be around. So I think the optimism is around that there's new owners come in. And to be fair to the new owners, they have said that they said we won't be coming in and throwing millions of dollars at the first team. We're going to try and make sure the academy's right and build from there and all that stuff. Okay. So they haven't come in saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But yeah, look, I think we knew this was going to be another difficult season for them. They weren't going to throw their hands in their pockets and say, we're going to get marquees left and right. But again, I think Fahid's right in the fact that you've got to be creative in the way that you go and get foreign players or whatever. And I think early signs are, well, I was told Wellersol by the players at the preseason launch. They were like, oh, he's strong, he's aggressive, and, you know, maybe we think he's going to be good. Well, I'm not seeing this strong, aggressive side so far. Every time a challenge comes near him, he's on the floor and, you know, rolling around, and it's like, you know, where is this side? And we heard Tristan McManus say that Rob Stanton was just saying to him, if you don't make another run in behind, if you make another run short, you're fucking off.
If you keep coming deep.
Yeah, if you keep coming deep, I'm telling you to run in behind and you're going to come off. And then I was down at the sideline just before half time, ready to go down to our pod. And he turned and span and went, and obviously he'd been screaming at him the whole game, running behind. So he came, checked and ran in behind, and then Wilmering played a fucking ball short. And Rod just stood there and looked at Wilmering, who was a couple of metres behind him, and went, fucking hell, in behind. And Wilmering, I couldn't quite make out what he said back, but he sort of shot back at him, and I felt like saying, hang on a second, well, we know for 45 minutes he's been saying he's got to run in behind, and now you're playing the ball short. What the fuck? Like, but look, I'm not seeing what Wellersol, I don't know if he's going to be a hit at all from what we've seen so far. And I think the performance they put out, I can't disagree with Fahid. I thought they were way off the races.
But Robbie, you know, it's and Macca, I'm not asking owners to spend crazy money, especially like it's good to have people coming and investing, and you don't expect that. But it's always saying, "Oh, we're gonna go with young players." It doesn't work, and it's just young players. Young players become better when they play with experienced players.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm not telling you should have 11, but you should have some good, like you can have 4 or 5 experienced players, a good center back, a good 6, and he's going to help the players around them. And then you can go with a mix of them, because we know we're not the best league or whatever, but you still have to try to do something. And using that excuse, oh, we're just going to go with young players. It's boring and it doesn't work. And yeah, you can win one game every now and then and this and that, because we're in a league where almost everyone can beat anyone. But you want to see more. And every year after year for some clubs, it's like you start the league and you know they're going to be irrelevant. And it hurts our league. It hurts the football. And I personally hate it, because I want to help the A-League to grow. And I would love to see, like, fans coming, turning. But by doing that kind of stuff, it makes it very hard. And so I understand not everyone can spend the same money as Sydney FC, West End, Victory, 100%. And it's the same in the whole world. Real Madrid and Barcelona spend much more money than Getafe and everything. That's fine. But still try to come up and have plans, but just saying, oh, we're young players, or we're in development. So it's already you find an excuse so people can't blame you. Like, it's always very easy, because in this country, we love saying, oh, yeah, they're playing some young players. Seriously, well, go watch NPL 1 team and you'll see the same thing. And we're in a professional environment. And that's why I would love to see some clubs making some effort and not spending. I'm not talking, you can be smart. You can spend seriously some okay money, whatever, but there's really good players all around the world. You can go in Argentina or Uruguay or Japan or Thailand or Europe and Norway or Denmark. And a lot of people would want to come anyway. And Sydney FC this year, whatever, some clubs proved it by signing some good players without spending crazy money. So you can do it.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I mean, I'm just looking at the two, because I commentated this game. I've still got my team notes, and it's true. Dane Ingham is 25, Shushnya 28, but they're the two real leaders. Everyone else in that team that played, Grozos is 24, Wellisol 25. Everyone else they're just kids, and it's not only just being kids. I mean, Eli Adams is 22, but he's still only played 15 A-League games.
Yeah, I agree with Fahid. Young players don't develop unless they've got senior players guiding them. You can have coaches there guiding, but you need senior players in those nitty-gritty moments on the training pitch, on the field, and even off the field to guide them, in their decisions in their career. Kids don't develop other kids.
You learn more. And to be honest, you have pressure. When you play with an experienced players, he can be here to help you, but he's also going to put some pressure for you to improve, because kids between them, they won't say anything. They won't even see the mistake. Now, if you play with players like actually it was Numinov, the player at Western Sydney. When you play with Morgan Schneiderlin, Amal Fita know everything. You get much better. You become a much better player. If you play with Tolga Yarslan or Avaler Jamin or Juan Mata, they're going to help you a lot. They're going to correct you. And to be honest, they know the football probably much better than the coaches anyway, because they played at such a high level. So they will help you a lot. And that's how you improve. And you don't have to play with those kind of players every time, but even someone who's played at a decent level in Europe, he can explain to you the professionalism, how to become a professional player, going to training, being early, leaving after, stretching. And it's like sometimes people don't have to talk, players. It's just when you look at them and you see their professionalism, it makes you you become a better player. You become a better professional. If you just play with young players and someone who's at 25 years old played 20 games in A-League, hey, what you going to learn from him? He's not going to help you. So that's the only thing I'm saying.
Let's talk about Western Sydney then. Juan Mata is not playing, didn't play on the weekend. He started the 2 before that, came off at half-time and after 60 minutes at Iron Bark Fields. By the way, I didn't mention it on the pod last week or the week before, but Juan Mata playing at Iron Bark Fields. Fucking had to be seen to be believed. It's a beautiful thing. Football really is a wonderful thing. But what's Fahid, first of all, a little bit on the game, I guess, because we saw a better Western Sydney, but does the fact that Juan was left on the bench and Western Sydney win, score, have more aggression all over the park, perhaps a few more legs in midfield? Obviously, we know, and we're not saying that Juan Mata can't play at this level. We look at other teams in the A-League who have older players, slow players that still play an important role. And you only need to look at Valère Germain, I think, and we're going to chat about him a bit later. But for a player whose football brain is often the most developed on the football pitch in Australia, and we see why, and we see the impact he can have. What's going on with Juan Mata at Western Sydney at the moment that we're not getting the best out of him?
I think it's just insane in our league to do that kind of stuff. I don't understand. Like, for me, when you bring someone like him, you have to play him in a system that suits him. That's me personally talking. And I couldn't believe it, to be honest, before the game when I saw he was on the bench. I couldn't believe when he only came on for 10 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever. I think, to be honest, I think it's disrespectful. I think I hate it. I really, really hate it because it makes no sense to me. And I'm so sick of those coaches saying, oh yeah, but the intensity. Okay, we will talk about someone who won the World Cup, won the Euro, Champions League, played in England for 10 years. He's always been one of the most intelligent and most technical player of his generation. He wasn't quick. He wasn't the strongest. So despite that, he was one of the best players in the world. And we're talking about A-League intensity. You must be kidding. Put horses on the pitch. They will be running, but they can't kick a ball and they can't play. They can't pass the ball. And I'm seriously, I'm disgusted to hear that kind of stuff. And every time those excuses. Put a system, play with Juan Mata as a 10 with 2 wingers or whatever, 2 sixes, and he will be the best player in the league. There's no doubt about it. He will make players around him better. So against Western United, I was at the game. He was probably the best player on the pitch. He came on 60 minutes, whatever we can say, that's fine, whatever. Last week to take him off halftime, for me, it is disrespectful. And at one point, you know what? It's just doesn't make sense. To bring someone like him, you have to play him. You have to put him in the best system. And if it doesn't work after 10, 15 games, of course, there's competition. Like, it's football. For me, I understand that. But what's the point? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Can he not play as a 6 in that system? You think he can run physically? He's good. When you look at his numbers, the data, everything, he's good physically. Like he
came on as a 6, didn't he? For the last 7 minutes.
Yeah, which is for me crazy. So, and also like when you're part of a club and a big club, you want to attract fans. You want to do things. The club is doing everything for Juan. Like you bring him the airport, and the fans are excited. And at the end, like even the first game of the season, you play the derby, everyone turned up. Everyone was just talking about Juan Mata versus Douglas Costa. And you put him on the bench. At one point, like, it's that kind of stuff. I don't get it. I never get involved with coaches, to be honest, for me, because I have my opinion. Everyone's got different opinions, so that's fine. Doesn't make any sense to me. And I really, really hate it. I really hate that kind of stuff. And we're not helping by doing that kind of things to players like him. When you have players all around the world, they're going to watch, say like, seriously, like a lot of players texting me, coaches in this league, by saying, what the heck? What the fuck is happening there for him not to play? Because it doesn't make any sense. Like seriously, for me, it's just common sense. I bring someone like him. You bring me someone like Juan Mata in my club. The first players I will put on that sheet will be Juan Mata, and then I will put the players around him to make it work, because it will work. It will work. It's not like, people compare with Nani. I always say Nani, his game was based on pace, dribbling, strength, and everything. When you get older, you lose that. You lose the pace. You lose that kind of stuff. And then he played as a 10, which it wasn't his game, because he's always been a winger. So then you can say, okay, it didn't work, everything, but there's things. And Juan, the way he plays football has never changed. And that's why I don't get it. And by saying, I see players, I go to the game, there's players that can't even run anyway. And I'm just, intensity. And we need to stop that. The football is a technical game. It's not AFL. Okay, we can be intense, that's fine, we understand that, but it's A-League. And last time I've checked, the level is not the same as England, Spain, Italy, or whatever. And it makes me really, really upset. But for me, it's personal, because when you try to bring players, then you see like Tolga Yazdan texted me, called me after. It was like, seriously? Like, how can you put Juan Mata on the bench? Especially at the beginning, it's like you don't give him a chance or to show things. Last week, to take him off halftime, the goalkeeper made a mistake. It happens. You know what? That's football. You take Juan out, and you're not even playing him in a way. You're playing him as a second striker, whatever. That's on his position. So no, I don't like it. I think it's disrespectful. And at the end, look, coaches, they do whatever they want. But I'm very disappointed. And look, we speak every day. Obviously, what we say, and obviously it stays between us. He's the most professional players. He goes there, he works. When you see him on the bench, he's celebrating with everyone. He's like at the end, he spends so much time with the kids all around, signing. He will never say anything because that's the way he is. It's seriously, Macca, now for me, I know him. It is insane, his kindness. He's so humble. Despite the level he played and everything he won, it is just crazy how he is. And when I see the way we do things toward him or whatever, I don't like it. But it's me talking, not him.
Yeah, look. As you say, everyone has their own opinion on these things, but I'm with you. I think if you've made this signing, and my first question was, all right, was this a signing made by the club and Stadge wasn't involved in it? But my understanding is that Stadge was involved in the process and wanted him to come. So if that's the case, I would be more of a line with you to say, all right, well, we've got a player here of this immense talent. And like you say, he wasn't a winger that used to get up and down. He's a ball playing player his game hasn't changed too much. I'd be saying, right, now I'm going to build my team around him and I'm going to be in training, working with guys to say, right, now this is where he's going to be when we have the ball. Can you get the ball to him as quick as possible? Okay, if you can't get the ball to him, it's a team game, get it somewhere else. But he can also get the ball in a tighter area than anyone else in this league can get it and do something with it. So be prepared to back him and give it to him. I saw in the brief time he got on the ball last night or got on the field this weekend, he was coming to get the ball and I'm thinking, just give it to him. And he's asking for it, but they were like, and they'll play it square to the other centre back. And I'm thinking, he can get that ball. The guy who's marking behind him is not going to get the ball off him. He was 3 meters behind him. One's going to pick that ball up, have a touch and turn and play it to someone and get out of front. Like if they have to be also coached into believing that he can get out of tighter areas and play in tighter areas than anyone else in this league is going to. So you'd be working towards that and using that. And I'd be saying to my, if it's a front three, whenever he gets the ball in a half space, you're starting to make your runs off that because he will deliver.
Is it not just a question of time? Is it not just because, you've got Božidar Krajev, you've got Barello, you've got, Brillante, you've got international players. Gabriel Cleur's played overseas. He knows what it is to be a professional footballer. Is it just a matter of time?
I hope so. Because to be honest, for me, it's but I just hope so. But as a player, as a former player, if Victory signed Juan Mata, I would have been the happiest player because in my mind, I was like, hey man, if I'm going to make a run, he's going to find me anywhere. He's going to find me. If I was a coach, my center back and my six is the first option when you have the ball at fullback. He's Juan Mata. You create space for him the first time. If he's around you, if you're brilliant or whatever, and you're 2 meters away, you just give him the ball. Because you know what? Makelele, I remember when for the orders or whatever, Makelele and Zidane, Makelele was always saying, my first thing was just to give the ball to Zidane. I didn't care. He was 2 meters away, 1 meter away. Deschamps was the same thing because the guy was a genius and the best player in the world. When you have Juan Mata, who was on an amazing level, and that's exactly the same thing. So if I was on the pitch and Juan was there and the six is not good, I would be smashing the number 6. And then if you're the striker, when you have Juan Mata behind you as a winger or whatever, you should be licking your lips every time because you can make a run in behind, you can come, he will find you in tight areas behind. It is just, for me, common sense. Everyone has different opinion, but that's my way to see things. When you bring someone like him, who is a legend of the game, who is a superstar, and you have to find a way to play him. And it is, for me, there's no discussion there. They have to find a way to make it work with him. And then if it didn't work, okay, we can say things. But I'm sick of hearing the intensity and running. Man, he can run. He's fit. He was in Denmark training for 6 weeks or 7 weeks before coming here with Nordjylland, who have the youngest team in Europe. They're only between 18 and 22 years old. Last time I checked, it's a better league than Denmark, everything. So we need to stop that.
Lo and behold, there were other games that were on the weekend. I hope you're not representing most players in most teams that will be here all fucking day, Fahid.
Nah, I won't.
All right, okay.
Ultimately, for me, it was 4-1 to Western Sydney, and Stads can say he got it right.
Yeah, but you know what?
Yeah.
In the same time, I always say, nah, that's bullshit, because maybe with him you would have won 6 or 7-1.
Yeah,
that's exactly.
And I knew you were going to say that as well.
Yeah, and Macca, if you're telling me that wasn't the kind of game where he could have been crazy, amazing,
I get it.
With the space, everything. Yeah, you know, that's one when people said, oh yeah, but we won. Yeah, but maybe we would have played better and even won more. That's I don't judge on one game.
I knew that was the answer that was coming as well.
I would never judge someone on just on one game. It's the same when you have a bad game or something.
Yeah,
like it happens. That's not normal. And you can have a great game. Everything doesn't change anything. If you brought Messi, maybe we can say, oh, Messi, there's no intensity. He doesn't run anymore. So now maybe we're not interested by Messi. So
exactly. Well, we mentioned that last week as well, because there are some players that just don't run. I was actually going to give a launch into a PSG story.
No, we haven't got fucking
archives,
time.
But exactly. So Macca, I'm not going to talk about Unai Emery and the shit he created in that changing room when he was there by not respecting the names of the players. But fuck it, I'll keep it for another day.
Yeah.
Shatter stat very quickly, because Nick Milanovic scored his first ever hat trick. Andy Howe, Stato, is still away on holiday. He might have just got back in the early hours of this morning, back to his adopted Adelaide. So he hasn't given me a shatter stat. So I'm just going to rattle through it. I know you both have great respect for statistics, so I've gone with historical stats for this one. So Nick Milanovic has joined the list of hat-trick scorers. The most, Jamie McLaren, scored 8, now plays his football in India, of course. Do you reckon Melbourne City wouldn't mind having the all-time leading goal scorer in their ranks at the moment, the way their forwards are getting injured? Anyway, that can be a discussion we have coming up. The fastest ever A-League hat-trick, Bessart Berisha against Adelaide, scored 3 goals in 6 minutes in 2011. For Brisbane Roar. That's not bad. The youngest hat trick was Nestori Irankunda at 18 years of age. Del Piero, the oldest, he was already 38 when he scored his hat trick, as we spoke about last week with Ben Sigmund against Wellington Phoenix when he got 4. Bobo and Shane Smelt scored hat tricks in back-to-back games. They're the only 2 players to have done that. Enrique scored a hat-trick off the bench. He's the only player to have done that. And Sergio Sirio for Adelaide and Jamie McLaren for Melbourne City both scored hat-tricks in losing causes. So there you go. There's a little stat on the history of hat-tricks.
The fastest hat-trick. What was the fucking slowest hat-trick? Who scored one in the first minute and the 121st minute and then, one in between? Go and find that one, you fucking smart asses.
Well, can you imagine if it had been in that Melbourne derby that was played over 4 months? Because it wasn't 8 or 9. All right, that's one. You've laid down the gauntlet to Stato to come up with the answer for that, and we hope he does. All right, no more time to talk about any of the other games this week. We've already been going for 40 minutes. Very quickly, Melbourne Victory defeated Brisbane 2-0. The Socceroos were on the score sheet. Valupale and Geria. Was there a fantastic assist by future Socceroo Fahid in Reno Piscopo, who set up Valupale's goal. Piscopo is looking like he's enjoying his football at Victory at the moment. But again, this Brisbane side just didn't look up to the task.
Every time I'm going to speak, people are going to say he's going to smash one club or something. So,
fucking miserable bastard, this guy.
So go.
But it's so.
Well, you played for both of these teams, Fahid, so we know this one's a little bit closer to your heart.
I'm going to ask you a question, very simple, and then you'll have my answer. When you have owners signing up players who barely know how to play football, but just because he's got 4 million followers, what do you think? So
I think you're harsh.
And
there.
the guy. Okay. Where was I harsh? Okay, he can play football.
Barely knows how to play football. I think you're being very harsh there.
Yeah, barely. Okay, but he's average. And I don't want to be disrespectful to anyone, but he made it. He said it himself. The owner signed him. When you look in the last 3 years or 2 years, whatever, he barely played football. When I mean, it's more he barely played. He never didn't have a lot of game time. How do you want to do things? It's complicated, and I understand. The same thing as Newcastle or whatever. Financially, you have two players in that team between O'Shea and Flo Berenguer, who are top players in this league, like very good players, and they can all probably play in a lot of teams. Then it's average, I would say, and they have a bad record the last couple, so it's complicated. I know. To be honest, it's a club where you have people trying to do the right things, like Kaz, and to be honest, like the people trying to have a football brain, so they're trying. At the end, it comes now. It's about owners. Newcastle, there's new owners, and I have nothing to say, but I only have respect to be honest for them. They came, and it's very new, so you can't say anything. With Brisbane, it's mayhem. It's complicated. It's been years, same owners. It's not working. It's like you start a league and you're going to finish bottom 4, something like that. And that club's got so much potential. There's only one club in the state. And we can say, yes, I had the position or something. But then you know what? The football, it's not only just the way Guardiola wants to play, a club wants to play. And they try to play sometimes the football with players that cannot do it. And they, like, I was watching the game and sometimes they make mistake. They're under pressure. Instead of sometimes kicking the long ball, because that's part of football. Now we're still going to try to do this and that. And you lose the ball and you cop a goal and this. And it is just nonsense. And at one point, it's about the qualities, about the players you have on the pitch. You can do whatever you want. You can put, as I said, Klopp, Ancelotti as a coach there. It won't change anything, unfortunately, because they don't have enough quality. It's complicated. Victory from their side, they've been okay. Like, to be honest, they've been solid. I think, and to be honest, even if he's a friend of mine, Jason Gary has been terrific. Yeah. He's been amazing. I texted him last week and I was like, that's the best football he's been playing. That's the best I've seen him. I think he's understanding also of the game. He can play center back, right back. He's been aggressive. He's been terrific. Popa knows him, took him with the national team. He was great against Japan. And he's on that level. I think he's one of the leaders today. They have quality victories with Sydney FC for me, both. Like, they have the best squad. I think Sydney FC on the paper, I will give a hedge to Sydney FC just on the starting 11 when they're full with Lowly, Douglas Costa, the midfield Caceres. I think they have more quality. But victory squad and the bench is better. You have players coming on with more experience, Arzani, everything. Look, Bruno Fornaroli, I'm disgusted with the way that he's been treated. It's not normal. It's disrespectful. As I said, everyone has different opinion. And the people might think the other striker is better. He's nowhere. There's no chance you can explain to me he's better than Bruno.
Burgos.
He's not better. He's definitely not better. Now you want to play a certain system or whatever, maybe. Try to explain, and I like PK. I have a good relationship with PK or something. And to be honest, he's doing well. They're winning. But not to have him on the bench, it's very hard to explain. It's very hard to convince me he doesn't have the level to be on that bench. Regardless what you say, regardless what kind of football you want to play. He scored 20 goals last year, whatever. He's a Socceroos. Mm-hmm. He's, in my opinion, probably one of the two best players that play in this league. One of the 2 or 3 best strikers that play in this league. And to treat him that way, The coach is that's one thing. He does it like, he speaks about the team from the club. I don't like it. I really, really don't like it. Last year he was great. Last year I would say he was with Damien da Silva, Machash and him, they were probably the three best players they had, and Polizo, So no, I don't like it at all. But they've been winning. They've been quite solid, except the first game was a struggle, but they got a draw. Yeah, Piscopo is doing well. He's doing quite well. They've got some quality players. They've got in the midfield, two young players playing. Valadon is good. He's getting better. So they're solid. They're solid. Yeah. I think they will be up there. You don't see anything crazy, but they've been winning. So to be honest, it's good.
Macca, we've got a Sydney FC side that we're going to get to. Melbourne victory. Let's keep that chat here for now. But they do have a quality side.
Yeah.
Is this almost a free hit for them? Are we going to see after the Mariners doing it on the smell of an oily rag the last 2 seasons? Check out their documentary, by the way, which is on Paramount Plus. It's a very interesting look behind the scenes. But we've been saying, where are the big teams in the league over the last couple of years? You can do it once, but to do it twice, the Mariners, the way they did it, that Wellington were punching above their weight last season. Where were the big guys? Is this season it even more accentuated? Are we going to see the big guys at the top? And I can include Auckland in that in terms of budget and playing roster.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with Fahid. I think we've said it before that I think on paper Sydney's got the best team. I also think that their young players are decent. Kucharski, Segicic, those guys who are coming off the bench. Victory across the board, like you say, you've got Daniel Arzani sitting there, who's on the bench, coming off the bench, being kept out of the team now by Reno Piscopo, who seems to be finding that form that we all knew he had, but just struggled with injury. But I think PK's drawn a line in the sand. I think he's drawn a line and said, look, this is the way I want to play. I don't believe that Bruno fits that style of play. And I think he's now gone, so I'm going to make a decision for the future and go, that's it. Bruno's not a part of my plans. Now, again, I agree with Fahid that having him on the bench, even at least, just in case things weren't going well, or just to put him on for the last 10, 15 minutes to get another goal, you would think would be the right move. But it appears that line's been drawn, and he's saying, right, we're moving on. Now, I don't know anything that's gone on in the background. I have no idea if there's been a run-in or if there's been, Bruno's gone, fuck this, I don't want to sit on the bench. I'm not saying he has, I'm not saying he hasn't. I don't know. But it does seem strange that he's, not even on the bench. And it was it last week or the week before when Jing Reese went on before him? I thought there's a sign there that he's still sat on the bench. Jing Reese went on and I'm like, well, Bruno, we know will score you a goal if you give him a chance. And for him not to be going on in that game, I think this is the top writing on the wall for Bruno. And now we've seen him out of the squad for 2 weeks now. And unless something happens, injury-wise or something remarkable happens, I don't think we'll see him play for Victory again.
Fahid, go.
Bruno didn't know, to be honest. He doesn't say anything. Obviously, I speak to him. Which is, as I said, coaches have their opinion. They have their way to play. And it's very simple for me. If you make it very clear since the beginning, straight away, that's the way I want to do things. I think that's where, if you come and say, tell Bruno, look, I think you're too old. And I think I want to play football with the strikers that's just going to make runs in behind. That's not Bruno's game. And and I respect that. I have no issue there, to be honest. And PK wants to play football maybe that doesn't fit or suit Bruno. Not to have him on the bench for me is, I can't understand. Because first of all, he's much better than the strikers have signed. At one point, we also have to be realistic. Macca, if we're gonna compare, he's not better than Bruno. Now, not even 18 players. If your team is losing, because in FFA Cup, as soon as they cop the goal in final against MacArthur, it took 2 minutes to put Bruno back on the pitch. That's a sign. So when things work, it's easy, like, to say, okay, it's working, it's fine. And victory, to be honest, if victory they don't finish in top two, it's a failure compared to the team. As we said, we have Sydney FC. I think Auckland is going to be good. They have a good project, good people there. Like, they're building something very serious at the club. But it's also their first year. But on the paper today, it's between Sydney FC and Victory. So if they don't finish top two, it's a massive failure for the club. Bruno can help you to get there. Even if you don't play him, it's a discussion you can have. There's a way to do things. Macca, we played. Like, if the coach comes to you and, he speaks to you, you're not going to understand or you're not going to be happy, but you will respect that. And I don't understand how you cannot have him on the bench. That's just the only thing. Then they've been winning, which is good. And you know what? But I always said the same thing as, like, when we spoke about Juan or other players. Maybe with him, you would have won 3-0 or maybe 4, or he would have helped you more. So, it's always like, I'll never judge on 1 or 2 games. But after going back to victory, it's working. They've been winning. Defensively, they look, to be honest, good. Like, they're quite solid. Like, it's one of the team, like, there's nothing crazy when you look, but even offensively, you've got Vilupile, Arzani, Piscopo, like, you've got players that can come and, like, you end up playing with, and obviously Zinedine Mashash is one of the top player here, in the league. So you definitely have that quality. You've got 2 young players in the midfield that can, to be honest, like, they can play, they can be aggressive as well. They can win balls. So yeah, it's
Casey Boss as well.
He's doing really well, to be honest. So you also have, like, Traore on the bench, like, so you have that depth. And you have some quality young players. Also, you have a good mix. And on the paper, yes, they have a good squad. They have a good squad. They're doing well. And now the only thing I would want to see is the crowd coming back, because when, I don't know, 10 years ago, it's like you play in front, like it's closed doors, and like the closed doors, sorry, it's packed, and it's like the stadium, it's full and everything, and you want to see them back. Like, it's Victory is supposed to have the biggest fans and biggest support, and that's what you need to see now. So hopefully they come back here.
Macca, nothing to add?
No, I think we've covered them. I just think I agree that the Victory, when Fahid said earlier about young players coming through, they need senior players with them. Victory of that good mix. They've got a good mix of senior pros and a good quality youngsters coming through, and I think they look a solid unit. And yeah, I agree. Top 2 is minimum for them this year, and I think they can do it as well. The way they're playing at the moment, if that continues, they should be.
And they don't have the Champions. They don't have any Champions League. They don't have any AFC Cup. Yeah. So Sydney FC, they do have those troubles that hurts. It doesn't help. And you got Douglas Costa got injured, and Lolly got injured also, So it's, I think, in terms of quality, Sydney FC, in my opinion, have a better starting 11. And those young players, to be honest, we'll talk about it, but they're good. Yeah. And they do have the same mix. Like, when we say, like, experienced players, like good experienced players and good young players coming through, they will learn from them. So yeah, Victory are definitely good. Look, PK is doing a good job. It's not easy, like, to be, like, you want to be successful, and at the moment it's working. So yeah, but they had like, he took a team also from Popa, and a lot of players stayed, and they already had, like, a very strong team. Obviously they lost, like, 1 or 2 players, but they added some good players, but they had that from last year. Last year they had a decent year.
And Zinedine Mashash is clearly a standout for the A-League Off-Air Player of the Year, just for being a fucking gun.
He's good.
All right. Adelaide versus Western United. So here is another. I heard John Aloisi give an interview this week. I'm trying to think where it was from, but he was saying the club won the league, had spent a lot of money. Prijovic, Lacroix. There were some big players there that helped the team win the league, and then they thought, actually, this is costing us way too much money. Let's just pare back. On the team that was on the field was all under the age of 24, except for Hiroshi Ibasuki, because Tomoki Imai was missing. They literally have a team of kids again, Western United, not for the first time. I think they had 8 kids called up to the Olyroos training squad, or 6 kids from their team. Most of them played on the weekend as well. They took on an Adelaide side. Adelaide, who do have that mix. They have some vastly experienced players. In the Spaniards in particular, Isaias, who was on the bench, Javi Lopez, who wasn't in the squad but is still there at 37, 38 years of age. Adelaide won this one 2-1. Daniel McBreen, let's talk just clearly, and let's not go on and on and on about poor old Daniel Elder and Kingy, your mate, Kingy, who we spoke about last year. Look, I think they got it wrong. They got this one wrong.
Hold him back. He's already ready to go. You'll see.
Okay, let's go to Fahid first. Okay, Fahid, tell us what happened. You've got to explain it because people may not have seen it. There were people, I went on the social media to have a little look around, and there are people saying, but you can't tell, he kicks the ball. Can't tell Kiddo touched him. Yeah. And this is where I think, if just let yourself go, just watch it in real time, watch it from the main camera, and it's almost a red card for not playing the ball and knowing you're never going to play the ball, which, I mean, that would be harsh, giving away a penalty, but that's the rule. If you're trying to play the ball, there's no more red cards for penalties. This one is almost penalty and red card. It's that blatant. It's that obvious. And what the fuck? How did they do it? And John Aloisi was fucking fuming. And John Aloisi's a nice guy.
I'm not surprised.
Like, he's a really nice guy, and he could hardly retain himself at full time. I would have loved to have seen Fahid if you were assistant coach.
The crazy thing is, making a mistake is human, and everyone makes mistake, and it's fine. Not with a VAR in the box for a penalty. If you missed whatever, someone's grabbing the jersey, yellow card, everything, whatever.
There was that as well.
It is. No, but that's fine. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's fine. It's one of the game, and you don't want to stop every time, blah, blah. But at one point, people need to understand also, it costs people their job when they don't. Yeah. For example, as a coach, if you don't get a result, everything, even if in Australia it doesn't happen very often. I've got 2 players in Europe, and you guys know them, but Damien Da Silva and Moussa Touré is a coach. Clermont got sacked 2 weeks ago. Rafael Borges at Coventry is a coach who got sacked last week, and I said, well, welcome in Europe, because they lose their job if they're not successful. In Australia, it's a little bit different, but still, you take points away from Western United because they should have got 1 point. They should have got something there.
Well, that would have given them a 2-1 lead.
Yeah,
as well.
And actually, yeah, maybe 2. But the thing is, like, how can you gonna explain there is no pen? And and I've been saying the same thing for years. In that VAR truck, they should have former players, because you understand the game. You have the understanding. If you've never played football and you can tell me, oh yeah, watch football and all those stats and those bullshit thing, whatever. If you've never played on a soccer pitch in front of 10, 20,000, 5,000 or whatever at the professional level, if it's in second division in Europe, in A-League or whatever, you don't have that feeling. You don't understand that. So have a former player in that truck explaining to them and making decision with the referees. He has to touch him. He has to foul him. It's a foul.
Yeah.
And you don't see it. And like at one point, like, I don't know, you need glasses. You're going to explain with the VR, like, seriously, they were drinking in that truck. They were like drunk or something, because it is just so stupid. And it's crazy to see that. And they should have got something. Western United, John Aloisi is one of the seriously top guy in here.
Yeah.
I'd love to see him like you said, when they were spending money, he won the league. And all of a sudden you go from winning the league to cutting the whole budget and not saving any money, not spending and trying to save. And it becomes harder because you just coach young players. So it's a different job. So look, it's the same, as some clubs, like when Ibisuki, he's a good player. You have obviously they have some decent players, good players like Garucho, they've got some experience, but just few of them, not enough, I would say. So they're missing for me, 1 or 2 pieces that can compete, and maybe you can finish top 5 or top 6, but they're missing those pieces. So it's not easy. It's always at the end, like you can have, as I said, you can have Guardiola, Ancelotti, Club. If the quality is, with young players, you can try. They try to play good football.
Well, the centre-back pairing on the weekend for Western United was a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old, and I think that speaks volume at where the club's at and what they're doing. And don't get me wrong, I thought they did a good job for two young players. But to rely on youngsters like that week in, week out, they're going to make mistakes. They're going to get things wrong, and it's going to cost you games. And that's part of the learning process, as we've said a million times on this pod, of a young player to make mistakes and learn from that. But getting back to the VAR, sorry, Kingy, but fuck me. Now, I've spoke to Kingy since then, and I'm not going to say what we said on here because, they've got their official channels and stuff like that. But in the end, I just said, well, where were you? In the toilet, getting a coffee? What the fuck was going on? And he had his reasons why he thought it wasn't, and I just basically flushed it and said, just put your hand up and say you fucked it, basically. And I said, I don't think there's a footballer in the world that will take any of your arguments and say, yeah, I can see where you're coming from there. Yeah. It's a penalty out and out. And if I was John Aloisi, I'd have been fucking seething as well. Because as you say, Robbie, that would have made, the chance to make it 2-1 in their favour.
And then you can win. And you win the game in 3 points. And all of a sudden, before international break.
Before the penalty, he's going to score into an open goal.
Correct.
So if there's no foul, it's almost, it's not even if they were going to score the penalty. Yeah. Remove the foul, it was a tap in at the back post.
But you can win the game and it changes everything. And it changes like sometimes momentum for a club,
Correct.
for the season. Yeah. And all of a sudden now you look and say, we haven't won. We haven't won a game. And before going 2 weeks. So people here, it makes me sick. It's seriously but as I said, you can make a mistake. That's why we have the VAR. You shouldn't make a mistake in the box. You shouldn't miss things. Sometimes it's like handballs and it's, but the arm was just like natural position and now it's not, and all this bullshit. Man, agree on one thing. Have the same rules for everyone. But on this one, you cannot give an explanation that's going to be, he might be right. No, you fucked it up, man. Really bad. And you're playing with people's job. You're playing with people's career as a player, because sometimes, if a coach can be very angry, or you made a mistake there, you're not playing because that's your fault, or you missed it, or you should have scored, blah, blah. And all of a sudden, that kid who scored the goal, if he scored, that changes his career maybe. You don't know. Because it has an impact for a striker, a young player. When you make your debut or when you played and you have won that goal, it changes a lot of things in your career. Yeah. So people don't understand that, and you can't fuck it up that way.
So I think
Abel Wallity was the player. Exactly. You can't fuck it up. Okay, fucked it up. Okay, for the record, Kane Vidmar scored his first ever goal in front of the Vidmar stand, in front of his dad, but not for the home team in Adelaide, of course. He's an Adelaide boy. He opened the scoring. Dylan Leonard equalised with an own goal. He was the 17-year-old. So those two central defenders did both get on the score sheet, unfortunately, for Dylan Leonard. But at 17 years of age, he is really looks an outstanding prospect as well. The question is, can you expect him to play 20 games at 17 years of age consistently? Macca, just let me finish. No penalty. Zach Clough got the winner in the 71st minute. Zach Clough, who's having a good season after a very good season last year. Macca.
Let's go back to Kane Vidmar's goal. Was
offside.
Riku Danzaki, who was in an offside position, blocking the run of the defender to get, as the ball was struck back across the goal, was he blocking the run? Now, I originally thought maybe he was too far away, but I'm watching it back. I think the defender could have got there and stopped the ball going back across the goal. So I'm just going to throw that one at Kingy.
But was it intentional blocking?
Yes.
Or was it just we had 40 players
he was in an offside
6 yard
position
box?
And he runs across the line of the defender who's trying to run towards the ball as it goes over to the back post. I thought originally that was maybe too far away, but watching it back, I'm thinking he may have got there and blocked that cross from coming back over. But that's another one anyway. Just there you go. Go and have a look at that one as well, Kingy.
Just quickly, Robbie, you were talking about Dylan Lennon, the kid of 17 and Vidmar. if those players, you play them next to someone like Marcelo or Damian da Silva or whatever, they become much better, and they learn how to become better. And you know what? Those clubs can sell them. You can make money. You can transfer them to Europe because they will look, not only they will look better, but they will become much better because you play with a good experienced one.
Yeah, and in Western United's defense, the central defensive pairing, exactly. Tomoki Imai and James Donachie were the central pairing. Exactly.
It's good, but when you play them with next to like a good player, everything.
Yeah, well, you had Josh Risden last year there as well. Yeah. All right, let's keep moving. Sunday football, or should we do the who the fuck am I? Because we have a winner.
Do the who the fuck am I? We've got a first winner of a prize.
Okay, so we had a first prize, and a winner, and the winner is Beto. Congratulations. He's on Twitter, quite active as well, often giving Macca shit, which we love.
Let's just put a caveat out there and say that it was a random selection by our producer of someone that got it right. So if anyone out there wants to win that they didn't get it, don't come at me and Robbie. Go for AJ because we don't give a fuck.
And a little word to the winner, Beto, who of course got it correct. Winton Rufer was the correct answer for the player that won the Cup Winners' Cup. Oceania Player of the Century, I believe he was as well. Yep. He played for many, many years at Werder Bremen. I remember we'd always be watching the highlights on World Soccer on a Sunday. There'd always be a couple of goals. He actually finished equal top scorer of the Champions League in 1994 alongside Ronald Koeman. So there you go. He was the player. He came back and was player coach of the New Zealand Kungs in the NSL.
Did you just say he was top scorer with a centre back?
Yeah, Ronald Koeman was the penalty taker and obviously free kick taker for Barcelona, who went all the way to the final before getting hammered by AC Milan 4-0. Yeah, exactly. Which we can always talk about because they were the glory years, even if AC Milan did ruin modern football for everyone by buying 5 million players in that 93-94 season. But that's okay. That's modern football. That's how it all went. Arrigo Sacchi. Thank you. Okay, so who the fuck am I? So, Beto, first, before I move on, if you're listening, which I hope you are, we need to contact you. If you have no intention of going to Unite Round, please let us know, and we will find someone else to give the tickets to, because you have won 2 tickets to the doubleheader of your choice during the Unite Round in 2 weeks' time. Obviously, great congratulations to you, but if you can't make it, if you've got something else planned, if you're interstate, if you're international, let us know and we will make sure they get to a worthy recipient. No prize for this week, so if you answer or not, no one really cares, certainly not me or Macca. This is just for my own enjoyment. Who the fuck am I? My professional football career spanned 17 clubs across 3 countries in 22 years. 14 of those clubs saw me stay 1 season or less. My agent loved me. Is this right, Fahid? Would you like a player like that? 17 different clubs in 22 years.
Catching!
Definitely not.
Catching!
Definitely not.
It's too much work. Just put him somewhere and leave him for 5 years.
It means it's a lot of headaches. A lot of headaches. Never happy.
Okay, well, this is the interesting point because who the fuck am I? Apparently, I wasn't much of a headache, and everywhere I went, the fans loved me, including at my A-League club. Now, I've written a little note on there. Oh, yeah. Despite being loved everywhere I went and being a quality footballer, I never played for my national team. Now, I have a series of names of players who I've played with. The first is a list of international players that I played with, and I've chosen only the most A-League off-air of those players. So I played with Enzo Francescoli, Freddie Rincon, Roberto Carlos, Paolo Di Canio, Stan Collymore, Fabrizio Ravanelli, Paul Ince, Alan Boksic, and Oliver Bierhoff. They're players I played with in my career. More importantly, I also played with Adam Porridge, Con Blatzis, Mark Schwarzer, Mark Bresciano, Mark Milligan, Ante Seric, and Luke Wilkshire. So there you go. Who the fuck am I? That's your quiz for this week. Next, let's keep moving. We've got nothing to talk about. Sunday was just boring compared to Friday and Saturday, wasn't it? All right, Macca, your first free hit on the weekend that the famous Greatest Little Club documentary was released about the wonders of playing football on the Central Coast over the last decade, and in particular the last 2 years. They came out to regale the home fans that will have seen the documentary and were shit again. Now, this is starting to become perhaps worrisome for Mariners fans, don't you think? Because Wellington Phoenix were the old Wellington Phoenix of last year. They took their chances. Yeah. They were ruthless. They were clinical. Look, I know we were saying it last year, 4 defeats in a row to start the season. This year it's 2 defeats and 2 draws. Or is it 3 draws? A defeat and 3 draws. Anyway, this is disappointing from the Mariners.
Yeah, look, it's 9 games in all competitions now for this year for the Mariners without a win. They got knocked out in the Australia Cup. They're obviously in the ACL Elite, which, if I'm going to be honest, do we expect them to win many games there, if any? Probably not.
No, but even one game is worth a big payout. There's big money in the ACL. If they could have beaten Buriram at home, it was like, good money.
But I fear that the players that have left haven't been replaced. I think they put a lot of stock in Miguel De Pizio of being their creative player this year, and he's had knee surgery and could be out for months. Then they got Brad Tapp injured, but for me, their problems are in the front third. They don't look to create too much. They had 21 shots. This goes back to Wellington Phoenix, particularly from last year, and how they managed to win games. They were very clinical. They only had 8 goals attempts, 5 on target. They scored 3 goals. Ishige's goal, the free kick, was a goal of the year contender, a fantastic free kick. He played wonderfully well, with Costa Barbarouses causing problems as well. But the Mariners had 21 shots, 10 on target. But when you have a look at their XG, expected goals from that, it's 1.1, because most of the shots came from outside the box. Wellington Phoenix protected that danger area around the penalty spot, 6-yard area. Hardly had anything in there at all. And Oluwaseyi got the highest ratings because he had all these saves, but they were all just regulation takes from outside the box. Spoke to Chiefy after the game, and he was talking about the way they wanted to play, and they wanted to squeeze the ball centrally and win the ball in those areas. And during the call, I mentioned how that Brian Kaltak had normally, he likes to step forward with the ball and pick passes into the pocket into 10, and he wasn't getting any time to do that, and actually lost the ball a couple of times. So they did their game plan to perfection. And again, you're talking about a mix of the squad being a mix of good young players and some good recruits and senior players. But I think we saw what Wellington are capable of last night, on the weekend, because they do have that good mix. Costa Barbarouses is buzzing around. Their Japanese players look decent. Alex Rufa is controlling a lot at the back. And when you've got Wooten, marshalling that back line, they're formidable. They don't offer up much in the way of high value chances to opposition, and they really stifled the Mariners. And I think the Mariners are going to really struggle to create that creative flair that we've seen so much of them over the past 2 years. Your Tulios, your Nkololos, your Cummings, Angel Torres, when they were all very guys who can open up a game and switch it in a heartbeat. They don't have that. They've got no De Pizio. I'm not seeing Fei Xiao offering that much either in that respect. Mikael Docker's still buzzing around like a blowfly and trying to do things, but it's just not quite there. I think they're going to struggle to score goals this year. And I think the anomaly last year for them was that they didn't have someone who scored, like a Cummings 18, 19 goals and some, like a Tulio or whoever to get 10 or 12 as well. They spread it out. Very rarely do you see a team not have a player get more than 10 goals, who wins the league. I think that was an anomaly for them, and I think in January they're going to have to find someone who can be that player, someone who can either turn a game with a piece of wonderful skill and bang it top corner, or someone who, if you put the ball in the box, their natural instinct is to be on the end of it and score. But I think this could be a long year for Mark Jackson. After last year riding high and winning everything that they were in, this year I think it's going to could be a hard season for them.
We just to clarify very quickly, we said this last week, the Mariners didn't have a goal scorer. Someone did point it out that Angel Torres actually got 13 goals.
Yeah, I was about to tell you,
season.
Yeah.
But he's also
he's gone
in a fair bit of trouble at the moment on the coast, and he's gone. Fahid, I'm not going to come to you on Mariners Phoenix just because we spoke about fucking New Zealanders for ages last week, and we're running behind schedule. So I'm going to give you a free hit at Sydney versus Macarthur. Now, you told us that Marin and Valère are your players as well, so we know that you were watching this, that Sydney FC, you've pumped up their tyres as well. Red card for Hayden Matthews just before halftime meant they played the whole second half, a player down. Ariath Piol's another of your players. Bloody hell, this was a nice game for you against the best team in the competition. Do you get a percentage of win bonus?
No, first of all, there's no win bonus. There's no win bonus in
Australia. In the A-League.
That's
every
the only
footballer
country
knows that.
except America. There's everyone, like, you win, you lose, doesn't really matter. It doesn't change anything. That's one of the things that should change, by the way. Anyway, that's another topic.
Okay, let me set. We're not going to talk about that today. Let me set this one up for you quickly. Caceres called up to the Socceroos. Hayden Matthews as well, along with Ryan Grant. We're not going to have time for the Socceroos chat that I did pencil in, but fuck it, that's all good. Sydney, for long periods of this game, particularly in the second half. It was an interesting first half. Sydney started well, then Macarthur with Germain doing some good things in the middle of the first half. Sydney finished the first half well, but then that red card. Second half, Sydney looked for long periods the better team, even against Macarthur. And in the end, we had that remarkable bicycle kick, which was all backwards. He hit it with his wrong leg. We were chatting about this, Macca and I, last night. That was really set up for a left footer, but he managed to hook it around and get it in. It was a fantastic goal from Ariath Piol. Pat Wood equalised his first goal since that miss in the A-League. So that's good to see. And then Marin Jakalic, who had a number of chances, finally put one away right at the death. Fahid. Macarthur, you never write them off because you know they can always do this. And then they go 2 games like they had and you write them off and then they do this.
To be honest, their plan, it worked perfectly because we all know Sydney FC are just going to press like crazy and they're going to leave a lot of space. So you can see like especially in the first half, after maybe 10 minutes, Sydney FC started well. But then for me, for like 35 minutes, Sydney FC didn't create anything. MacArthur defended really well. And especially on their build-up, finding between the line, and you could see straight away their plan was to go in behind. As soon as they got the line, like between the line with Valère, even Brighton Holman at the beginning, and the wingers and Marine and the other one, they got so many chances. They should have scored like 3 goals probably in the first half, to be honest. So even if that wasn't the thing to have the ball and like, no, but their plan worked perfectly. In the second half, when they got the red card, it's just before halftime, I thought they could have done better, on the ball, because 11 versus 10, you should have the ball a little bit more. And I think the last 15, 20 minutes, they struggled. They were defending deeper. They defended quite well, but then they obviously copped the goal. And at the end, I was still surprised by seeing Sydney FC trying to press. Like the goal, it's like one defender at the end. Like they're still pressing with one man down. And I was like, you're not happy to take 1 point? Like it's a miracle. And the class of Valère Germain, for me, and to be honest, we texted each other yesterday. He's the best player in the league. And the way people look at football is his understanding of the game, his class, technically, the way he plays for players, he's going to create space to someone. Sometimes you don't even see him on the ball, but he's just going to attract and drag a center back to open the space for someone else. that's intelligent. And technically, he doesn't make any mistakes. He plays for the players. So, in my opinion, he's the best striker, not even close to Venice. And I think he's the best player in the league today. He's so class. He's so intelligent. And because you have someone like him, they're always capable of something. They have some.
That's it. That's the point.
They have also sometimes like Marin Jakolic, the first game he had was the best game, like, probably he's played, to be honest, like at least in the league. He scored 2 goals, assist or whatever. You have some good young players. I think Dino at the back, he's going to bring them a lot. He's going to bring experience. Like yesterday he had very good games. They have a good goalkeeper. They have some young talented players. I like what they do, to be honest, like, because they try to have that mix between experienced players, like we've been saying, and some young players. Sydney FC, look, when you miss your 2 best players, Loli and Douglas Costa, it's obviously it's not easy.
And Leo Seno also was playing with the problem on his groin.
In midfield between the Moroccan, Caceres, they have a very good team. Is that sustainable to play that way long term? Just to go crazy? Because when you play against a team that work that, and if you don't get the pressing right, it becomes very, very hard defensively, because even if they're okay players, they're decent players, that you don't have a world class center back or like a top center backs, everything that can at one point control things. So look, I think their plan was great. I think they deserve to win. To be honest, for me, even if the last 15-20 minutes, like Sydney FC, it was quite impressive to see them going 1 man down and still pressing, having the ball, getting some chances. Like the players who came on, the young players who came on did really well. They brought something as well. It was a good game. It was actually, seriously, I enjoyed it. The goal from Arias was world class, to be honest. And between us, the morning, him, Mohamed Touré, all their friends, they have a group. They all communicate like that, everything, and they're always on the phone. He was telling them in the morning he was going to try that. He was believing, so the crazy thing, they had a joke with, I think it was with Motoure, everything. And he was like, if I get a chance, I will do it. And after the game, to be honest, it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen very often. So I was very happy for him, and he came on. And the last 2 weeks, he wasn't in the squad. So he came on and he did really well. But when you play for young players like him, when you play with someone like Valère, it is priceless. Because even if Harry, for example, is a young player and he's got a lot of potential, he's strong, he's quick, Valère makes things so much easier for him, because he's going to help him. And even for the wingers, the pass he gave to Marin, things. Yesterday, I was like, he's an unbelievable player. And he's 34 years old. He's played at the top level. He doesn't run like an idiot all around. He can't, he's not the quickest player. But I was very happy for them. Look, I enjoy the game. I really, to be honest, both teams. I enjoy what Ufi does, with Sydney FC, the way he wants to play football. They've signed really good players. With Alex, they signed, when you look at the Visa players they've signed, Senna, the defensive midfield, obviously Douglas Costa, we're not going to present him. He's busy. You can see he's got something. They just they've signed good players, good young players. I think the future is bright for Sydney this year. But if we just look also at the result, it's 2 wins, 2 losses. So, with them, it's going to be either one of them. It doesn't look like, they won't go for a draw. But as a fan, you enjoy it. As a football fan, you see a team going forward, pressing, not staying. So it's enjoyable. But congrats to Venice, to Mile and his staff. They're doing an amazing job, because they don't have the resources also, of Western Sydney or this or that. And they won the cup. And last week they had a terrible game. 2 weeks ago against Newcastle, when they lost against Newcastle. They should have got they could have got something at victory. and a pain or whatever, then it's bad luck. But defensively, they didn't defend quite well. Yesterday, I think their plan was really good. And to be honest, I'll give credit to the staff between Christophe Gamel, Matt Smith, Mide. They're doing a really good job without having budget of Sydney FC or Victory.
Yeah, I agree. They could have scored 3 or 4. I didn't think it was going to come for them because Valère kept putting Miran Jakalic in, and he kept fucking it up, and he kept thinking, come on, man, just put one of these away, and he keeps putting them on a tee for you. And I think if anyone who follows me on Twitter, I put the little the goal celebration, and Jakalic, when he scores, he runs off and he tries to kick the corner flag and he missed it. And I was like, that was his fucking first 4 chances right there. He just swung and missed. But luckily for him, I don't even think he hit the finish properly either. He hit it down into the ground, which actually helped him because as the defender slid in on the ground, it bounced over the defender and went in. So it goes to show that it doesn't always have to come off your boot cleanly to go in. As long as they go in, who gives a shit?
That's the Mashash technique. Yeah, if he was doing it on purpose. Yeah.
But it's one of those games, Macca, it's one of those games where as a player, sometimes you have bad touches and, you miss things. But credit to him he kept running or whatever. And at the end, he got it. I was like, oh, fuck, they can't miss. They can't lose that. So.
Did you used to watch my games? My games were that. Lots of bad touches and occasionally one would come off my knee and go in the goal. And I'd be like, fucking hell, how did that happen?
Macca, to be honest, I always say I never criticize strikers when they miss because I was so bad in front of the goal. I was so bad. I knew to give assist. But I was so bad to score. I was really bad at that. So I always say I never criticize someone missing goals because I know how hard it is. And Marin yesterday was watching and I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. But then I was like, but to be honest, and then I put myself, I was like, I would have fucked that up anyway. So.
All right, let's, when Macca sent that message out last night about Marin missing the corner flag, I immediately thought about, a player who often kicked the corner flag. Often it was like some sort of roundhouse Jackie Chan style kick, and that was Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So for this week's show and tell, I've got this jersey, which if I can bring it in,
nice.
It says best wishes, good luck for the future, signed by the PSG number 10 Zlatan. There you go. And to complete show and tell, because that's what we do, Marco Verratti, con affetto, that was an interesting one. He promised me a shirt, and when I went to ask him for it after a game, he said, no interviews until after Christmas. And it was only September. But so I did the deal. I didn't tell my boss. Sorry, we can't get Marco. Why don't we interview Marco this week? No, can't interview Marco this week. And this one, the deals that you guys used to do with your poor old...
What a player.
Fucking hell. Happy birthday, Marco. Buon compleanno. Wow. It was last week. He was at the park for the loss against Atletico. Fucking criminal. And the last one for this week is this one. Signature on it again. I don't know if you can see it. But it's a kid that came through the ranks at PSG, went off to RB Leipzig. I think he plays in England now. I'm not sure where. Lost track of him. But... fucking gun kid when he was younger. There you go. Show and tell for this week. We have one game left. And that is one that's been generating a fair bit of interest. And we received a message from our friends at the Far Post Pod, Far being way out west. And if I can get the exact language of it, let me find it here. We had a lot of messages over the weekend. We hope we've answered most of your questions. But this one arrived from our friends out west. Who wants to have a go at this? Macca, you can go at this first. So to sum up, Perth, biggest home defeat in the history of the A-League. They lost 5-0 to a Melbourne City side without Andrew Nabu or Marco Tilio or Matt Leckie, who started on the bench. 5-0 it was for City. And the message from the Far Post Perth, not Far Post Pod, excuse me. Perth's biggest fucking home loss in the A-League era. Can we stop trying to play sexy Red Bull shit? How many more fucking weeks do we have to sit through this? Fuck.
Well, they summed it up succinctly there, haven't they?
Exactly. All right. Do we need to say anything more?
Not really. My notes here says Perth shit in red. And what more do you say? 5-0.
But this is all we can say is what we said last week, which is we feel sorry for Zdrilla because, this is a team. And last week he got a point away to the Mariners. Does that talk about Perth or does it talk about the Mariners? Because this, again, is just stupid mistakes, horrible defending. Ollie Sale had a good first half and then 20 seconds into the second half, He comes out like he did in the first game of last season and just gives it straight to the opponent. You think you can't even defend Ollie Sale.
I saw someone on Twitter say the halftime talk is, guys, just keep it tight here. Let's start the second half well. 5-10 minutes, give nothing away. Then 24 fucking seconds in, Ollie Sale goes, there you go, and the fucking music mode comes over the tannoy and it's 3-0. Zula must be thinking, what the fuck? But look, honestly, with that squad, I'm saying, right, let's sit in the block. Let's close down space. Again, Melbourne City got past the first line of press and there was so much fucking space in midfield because they were the press was so disorganised, so stretched, so singular. It was fucking easy. And I'd be reevaluating hard to say, righto, we need to sit in a block. We need to close down the space. We need to not concede goals. Is it 13 goals? 1-4 and 13.
Well, 13 goals conceded. Goal difference minus 12.
In 4 games. They need to really sort that out. Otherwise, Perth have had some long seasons. This could be the longest fucking ever season in the history of the club if it continues this way. And I don't know what more we can say because every week we've sort of said, you don't want to sit here and I could let Fahid go, but he'd be here for fucking 45 minutes.
I think we can just replay what Fahid said about Brisbane.
I don't know what to say.
No, but it's fine. You know what? Yeah, exactly. It's the same. It's the same thing, but okay, they don't get it right. Their press. It's been. And I think Zrilic is going to become a very good coach. I do think he's got some really good ideas, everything.
Yeah.
The problem is you try to play a football and to try to adapt to players that cannot do it.
Yes.
At one point, it's it's not like you're Guardiola or Klopp and you can sign every window. You can spend 200 millions because you want to change players and this and that. And it takes a bit of time anyway. But your first year, you can't move everyone. So you're going to have to adapt to the players, even if you want to come with principles. If you're asking some players to press but don't have the legs, then you have to adapt to them and play maybe a different football. And that's where, for me, I blame that because sticking to something and, everyone, they love having those discussions because Edge sticks to his way. Yeah, but not everyone is Edge Postecoglou. And, everyone, they don't have also the same teams, everything. And how to work things. But if people say but I believe in my thing and that's how I'm going to die. Well, fucking die before and leave the club before. You kill the club anyway. So those stupid things, those ideas but that's my principles. Okay, fine. Everyone has principles. And I'm not telling you have to change things, but you also have to adapt to the players you have. You look at them, they're pressing. I was at their first game against Mariners and I was like, okay, it's first game. You still had 3 or 4 months pre-season to work on it. First game, got it wrong. Okay, it happens. It's one game. It doesn't matter. You got 6, 7. To be honest, it happened in football. But still, when it's that often, and now 5-0 at home and you look at the space and defensively and players, wow, it's at one point, maybe change things. Some of the players also, at one point, as we said, it's also about the quality. You as a coach, you're not the one playing. When you see mistakes, the funny thing is you see the goalkeeper, the first goal they caught, he's yelling at someone or whatever, I can't remember. He's blaming him. He's smashing him. And then, every shot is a goal. So maybe, it's good to, it's also accepting mistakes is one thing, but also look at yourself. Because it's always easy to blame people and but as a goalkeeper, when you're supposed to be a good goalkeeper and blah, blah, and then spending whatever money on you, be an example because every shot I received was just a goal. So And
I wonder if that first shot didn't take a deflection. I know you can't tell from that camera angle.
I think it did. Yeah, I think it did.
Yeah,
I don't know who he was yelling
yeah.
at. I don't know who he was blaming or yelling at. And like straight away he got the goal. He was running towards someone. I was like, what's he doing? Like, but you have new owners. Like obviously, as it's the same with Newcastle, you have to give them a bit of time to adapt, a new coach. But that, after 3 or 4 months preseason, we have the longest preseason in the whole world. Your team should have some principles, and we shouldn't talk about the pressing because that's the way he wants to do things. But one is pressing, the other one is far away. Like they don't work together. So maybe go back to some easy principles. We're all going to stick together, drop. We're going to stop pressing there because they don't get it. The midfielder, you want to press high. They don't have the legs to cover. And defensively, it's just like some of the players obviously are not good enough. So it's very complicated. But Perth, even last year, they didn't have the worst team. Hey, when people say they didn't have the worst team, when you have, first of all, they had the top goal scorer. They had some experienced players and some players from like Australia and foreigners. They were decent goalkeeper. So they didn't have the worst team last year. If we take players after players, maybe it wasn't the best environment. That's a fact. That's 100% sure. Yeah. But in term of quality of the players, I don't think Perth had the worst team and the worst players. So now this year, they signed the right players. We'll see. But it's going to be tough.
Okay, so Steven Ugarkovic got a double. Andreas Kuhn and then Cohen both got goals, and so did Mehmet Mehmeti, 17-year-old young striker who got his chance. Big raps on him for a while. An assist from another 18-year-old who made his debut last night as well. So perhaps things not looking too bad for City at the moment. Hit or shit, very quickly. We're not going to talk about it. Ariath Piol is the hit for that overhead kick. It was very, very impressive and very, very important. I was going to suggest we have a little chat about the best overhead strikers of all time, but fuck it. I was just jotting down that Daniel Fonseca, the Uruguayan striker, was the number one overhead striker of all time, along with Hugo Sanchez. So, end of discussion. In the ladder, a Melbourne victory lead the way with 10 points. Auckland and Melbourne City in second and third, or third and second now, I think, on 9 points. Wellington Phoenix with Adelaide on 7 points in fourth and fifth. Macarthur are in the sixth, just ahead of Sydney FC on 6 points. Then Western Sydney Wanderers in eighth. And then Newcastle do have a win. They're in ninth place on 3 points to go with their 3 defeats. And then we have the bottom four who are all without a win still. The Mariners, Western United, Perth and Brisbane. Macca, a word on that, because, we've got the haves and the have-nots at the moment. We spoke about it at the top of the thing, and there we have 4 teams that are struggling, that haven't got a win after 4 games.
Look, I think
there may be a bye in there.
Yeah, I think from what we've seen in the first 4 rounds, the bottom 5 are out of the running already for the top 6. I just think there's Wanderers have got enough quality in their squad and players in their squad to be pushing, but I think it's a top 8 now already. I seem to think with pushing for the finals football, and I think hopefully one of them can make changes, or more of them can change my mind, but I can't see any of the other 5 really making us a challenge this year. I think we've seen not much from them, not much cutting edge for them to show us anything. I know there's a couple of them that have got some injuries to senior players and stuff, but it seems to be a divide already in the league.
Yeah. All right. That's about it. Fahid, do you really want to talk about the National Second Division, or should we get you back for a bonus?
Get me on
We've been going.
To you, but that's Second Division, man. That's Second Division.
Okay, look, Fahid, we've been going for an hour 40.
But
can we let's because we said last year we'll get you on to talk about National Second Division. We didn't do it. We really can't keep going because we're going, and I think Macca's got something on anyway. Can we pencil you in 2 weeks for a special global, chat about how fucked everything is. Would you like to come on and do that with us?
Let's do that.
This is going to be another 5-hour pod if we go through all the things that are fucked.
We can get Simon on.
Let's do that.
Me and Macca are quite positive generally, so it's good to have
I'm very, to be honest. That's why I said I'm getting on the podcast now, where things this week between the referee, between decision with some top players, not obviously for me, not treating them the way they deserve, like whatever, and it's not about.
We've lost him. Someone called him. You're back.
Nah, see?
He received a phone call. I think we lost him. Fahid, come
universe.
back. Yep, you're back. Okay, keep going. We've lost him. All right, well, while we wait for Fahid to rejoin very quickly, I think we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. See you later, Fahid. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Thank you, Fahid. It was great to have you on. I'm afraid we may have lost you there. He is a legend, Fahid. He's a funny fuck. Yeah. And it's great to get him on. He does know his football as well. 14-time Tunisia international, very passionate, loves the A-League, lives in Melbourne with his family, having played for Brisbane and Melbourne Victory. And, we need all these people with experience of the game at the highest level to come here and help us out. Otherwise, the only thing left to say really is like, subscribe, leave us a review, give us 5 stars, get involved in the chat on Instagram and Twitter, and we're on YouTube now
and we'll try and answer your questions, but when we've got an hour and 41 minute clock on the clock, we can't get through everything.
Exactly. So, but we do appreciate it, and we probably answer most of them anyway as we go through. And that's it. Macca, well played. I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
We won't be out here in a week because
bring it on.
We won't be here next week. International weekend.
And so we'll be watching and supporting the Socceroos and
having a break
and enjoying it. Full stop. Fucking let's stop blathering. All right. See you later, people. Bye.